Welcome to episode 42 of Bee's Travelogue. My weekend trip to Gyeongju was one of my favorite trips. The bus ride from Mokpo bus depot took about 4.5 hours. I headed straight to the local bus stop and caught the bus to Bulguksa Temple. The temple is over 1,000 years old and a UNESCO World Heritage Site, so many people take day trips from Busan to see it. There are several gates to enter this temple. From the bus stop, I walked a long way up the mountain and then entered through the eastern gate. From the eastern gate, I walked through the gardens until I came to this view of the temple. The temple was founded in 528 CE, was destroyed many times and rebuilt. It contains 7 national treasures and has 3 major courtyards. We could get into the front part of the temple and then look down the ancient steps. I was interested in the door knockers and the painted ceiling. The 2 stupas in the courtyard and the Buddha in the prayer hall are some of the national treasures. Behind the prayer hall, I came across these paper lanterns. Each paper lantern represents the wish of a family. Each color has a special meaning. I love going underneath the lanterns, taking pictures and also taking photos of the shadows underneath the lanterns. I found some steep stairs and of course climbed to the top to have this beautiful view of the temple. There were signs next to each building explaining its purpose and what incarnation of Buddha could be found inside. Next to some buildings were these very old stupas that had engraved images on each side. I also found this large painted drum on the back of a large turtle representing the universe. In this part of the temple, there was a lucky golden pig. When I arrived, it had been fairly overcast, but now the sky turned a pretty blue. At this point, I had read about the really old staircase in the front and wanted to see it up close. The 33 steps represent the 33 realms in Buddhist cosmology. I took one last walk around the now sunny courtyard and then started to head outside. My plan was to take the bus to the top of the mountain and see Sokguram Grotto, which is partnered with Bulguksa Temple. First, I stayed a little in the front of the temple, which was really beautiful with the mountains behind, and there were several relics in the forest with markers that explained how they had been used. After finding this bell and gate, I walked a long way down the mountain to find the bus stop that would take me to the grotto. The bus dropped us off at a parking lot. We walked through this gate and then along this sandy road through the forest until we got to the grotto. It was quite a long way to get to the grotto, maybe 20 minutes. I was talking with a young man from Germany, a Turkish man who was pretty fluent in German and told me about his travels to China and Japan. I didn't have lunch, so before I walked into the grotto, I had some ice cream. Inside, we were not allowed to take any pictures. I do remember seeing the Buddha carving behind glass, but to me it wasn't worth this side trip. I took the bus back down to the temple and then waited for the bus back to Gyeongju. There were several tourists waiting together and big clouds were forming. Finally, it started to pour while we were on the bus. But when I got to Gyeongju and got off at the bus stop to see what these hills were all about, it had stopped raining, fortunately. What I discovered and what I thought was really cool is that Gyeongju is covered in these hills, some smaller, some larger, and that Almost all of them are royal tombs. Gyeongju was the capital of the Silla Kingdom, which began in 57 BCE and ended in 935 CE. I left this area of smaller tombs and then entered a walled area of larger tombs. The most famous of those tombs is Chonma Chong, the Heavenly Horse Tomb. As I was walking around taking pictures, I saw signs that climbing the tombs would incur major fines. I really wanted to explore the tombs and the city, but I was very hungry at this point. So I went in search of a restaurant and stopped at this Thai restaurant, but I really wasn't that happy with the food. Next, I headed to my Airbnb, which was a cute little hanok house, and I was very happy with it. I rolled out my bed and took a short break because it was raining again. My neighbors were families with little kids, so I felt like I was living in a K-drama. Next, I went to the Heavenly Horse Tomb. I had once been to the traveling Tutankhamun exhibit in Philadelphia, and this one felt almost like it. Seeing the gravesite and the treasures that had been found here was really spectacular. The treasures in the tomb are replicas only. The original treasures were moved to the museum. But I highly recommend a visit to the tomb. It was very interesting and contained information that you don't get at the museum. The replicas here were created to look like new, so you really got a sense of what the king might have looked like in his full splendor. You also learned about the history of the tomb, how it was found, and how it was excavated. Here's a short view of what it looked like when you stepped out of the tomb and looked around. I was heading south to the famous astronomical observatory, but first I came across the tomb of King Michu. When I left the tomb area through this gate, the walkways suddenly were very crowded with families. And then suddenly I came across this side, lit up tombs in the distance. There was something very special and sacred to me about walking in a place where the tombs of kings still existed. It really felt like we were in a place of historical significance, and I continued to have this feeling even throughout the next day walking around in the summer heat. This lit up forest in the distance looked really spectacular, but then I found the astronomical observatory. In true Korean fashion, the colors kept changing. I was looking for a palace but couldn't remember where exactly I would find it, so I headed to this forest. I found a fortress, but it was still being excavated, so there wasn't really much to see. But finally, I found my destination, Donggung Palace and Volji Pond. It seemed like everyone who was in Gyeongju was at this palace. It was very, very crowded. But really it was no wonder. Lit up and with the reflection in the pond, the forest looked truly magical. As with most other palaces in South Korea, Donggung Palace had been destroyed and partially rebuilt. Visitors follow a path along the walls. There are 3 pavilions that you can enter and look out over the pond. They look spectacular lit up, and especially with the reflection. There were many people, but most people were patient and waited until they got a spot at the wall and could take the picture. I believe Donggung Palace and all the other sites worth seeing are open until 10 p.m., so check the timing and time your visit well. I had also wanted to see the famous bridge in Gyeongju, but because I had spent too much time walking around the forest, I didn't have enough time to get to the bridge. So when I left the palace, I caught a bus and headed back to my Airbnb. I hadn't fully decided what to do the next day, but it ended up being a very interesting day. I hope you'll join me. Thank you for watching.